Discover the Women in Tech Trailblazers podcast, hosted by Tiffany Benitez. Here, the complexities of being a woman in the tech industry are unraveled through discussions on key issues, personal growth, and how to succeed despite systematic challenges. It's a source of empowerment and inspiration for all women at all stages of their tech careers. Welcome to Women in Tech Trailblazers. I am so excited to be back with you guys today with another amazing episode with another incredible guest to share with you. We are going to be talking about something I think near and dear for sure to my heart, but I think I probably am not the only woman or ally that maybe struggles with this a little bit. But today we are going to be talking about decluttering and how, as a leader, that's really, really important so we can make space for what we're after, what our purpose is, and that the work that we do is purposeful. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Haleh Shoa. She is the founder and CEO of Picturli, a photo organization, curation, archiving, and design studio that helps families, individuals, and businesses transform their chaotic mess of photos into one clear and cohesive digital library. Haleh and her team meticulously organize their clients' photo collections into a searchable, secure, and easily shareable photo archive. And Haleh believes that family histories and personal memories are some of the most valuable treasures that exist, and that preserving and sharing them is crucial for our future generations. So welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you.
Hi, Tiffany. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. So the reason that we have this podcast, and so we always just kind of try to share this for either new listeners or even, I've shared some of this with you, but really it's like authenticity is the key. And authenticity becomes like, I think, a buzzword sometimes, as everyone's like using it, but like what that actually means is different to every single person. So we always kick off the show and the episode with asking our guests, what does authenticity really mean to you?
As a woman, I think authenticity for me is to make sure that I'm always standing in my power and I understand where to draw those boundaries and when to explain the requirements so that I don't feel a lack in my life. Whether it's with personal relationships, with my employees, with my clients, I think that's really important. I think a lot of times women tend to just give it all away in hopes for, whether in hopes for him liking me or that client hiring me or, so really reeling it back and standing in your power so you're not giving it all away.
I love that. I love that every time we ask a guest, they all have a different, definition. And I really love that because I think us truly operating in authenticity is what does that mean to you? And I absolutely love like not giving it all away. I feel like I'm in this season of life of doing more of being strategic on what I give away and who I give it to. So I love that. Okay. I know we talked about, you've got this incredible company, CEO of this company. Can you talk to us a little bit about like, our audience always wants to know, okay, we've heard this amazing bio, but we know that the journey from where you were to where you got to is usually not easy for any of us. So can you talk to us a little bit about your personal career journey and kind of some of the tech pieces of that and really what inspired you to this path?
Yeah, I always love this question. My journey began a long time ago when I started to look through my own family photos in my mid-20s and started to archive them when I was working in advertising, and there was a lot of ebb and flow in any creative field. If anyone listening is in the creative or production field, you're either completely on 24/7 or you're waiting to be on. And during those lull moments, I would bring in the family photos, and we had access to high-res scanners, and I would scan them and be able to email them to my family, which are on 4 continents, and be able to share those. And it was like, it would start such a great conversation about, oh, I remember that, with my older cousins when, before I was even born. I had 26 first cousins. Some of them have passed by now, but it was such a good conversation starter. So that was like sort of the beginning. And then in 2015, I worked with a life coach, and I just really wanted to just have my own business. And we dug really deep into what gives me joy, and that was to make family photo books. I love making, photo books and gallery walls and calendars. So that was the joy of the knowledge of the digital asset management, and by working in advertising, and the joy of what I had, all brought it all together into this business. And now I offer all of it, the digital organization, the analog to digital, and of course all the design stuff. So, and the journey has not been easy at all. But here we are.
I know that's really exciting. I think the one thing that I really love is that how technology has been defined as far as like what is technology and who operates in technology or as a technologist. I think we have had some very siloed definitions of like a certain set of people in a certain title in a certain segment of a company. And where this is changing is that we are all technologists. We are all have technology at our fingertips. We're using it every single day. And it's really important that we start seeing ourselves as such instead of kind of reserving that title for a specific subset of people. And so when we say women in tech, that's absolutely what you're doing. You're taking all of this chaos that is in our lives and really using technology to bring it all together. And so I just really love that aspect. I think you'll tap into a creative audience that we have here that maybe some of the other guests haven't been able to.
Yeah, I mean, and the technology that we have access to is all the new stuff. So the AI that we've been using since even before I went into business, if you've had a phone in your hand, that phone has had AI. They've been working on facial recognition for years. We've been able to, tag the photos of the people who we take photos of on our phones for years. That was all AI. So, and then of course, like the old technology is what we need. Like I need VCRs in order to transfer that VHS tape. So I can't transfer the VHS tape any other way than having that old technology, that analog actual equipment. So we have a room full of analog equipment for all the old technology that we have to bring to new. So yeah, I mean, I tell people I own a technology company, but I have to go into much further detail about what that means.
Yeah, and I think more that we keep talking about it, right, and bringing the awareness, hopefully, it stops being thought. I mean, I know even now if you say tech, people automatically think developer or engineering, and I'm like, yeah, no, there's like a broad spectrum out there. So I love to always emphasize that. Okay, so the other big thing for us as women in technology is there's 28% of us, and that's like overall national average. That's not getting into women in leadership. That's a whole different population that is much, much smaller. So as an incredible CEO and a female CEO, talk to me about gender bias. Like, have you in your journey, whether it was before you owned your company or kind of along your path or to where you're at now, have you really had to navigate any of that, and how have you done so?
Yeah, it wasn't only gender bias, but it was also racial bias. Advertising is extremely male oriented and very white. So it was an interesting journey in terms of carving that path out for myself in order to become director of operations of a global agency that handled Jaguar and Land Rover. That was my last full-time position. And the idea that a person of color or woman has to be that much better than our white male peers is a true story. It's one that I lived, time and time over. It was like trying to figure out how much is my counterpart getting, per year? What was their salary? And trying to decipher, well, can I, asking for that, get the gumption to ask for it. And, it's there's so much in this journey of getting older and again, standing in my power. There's so much that I had to have that sort of machete to kind of go through the forest of the what ifs. Like, what if I go this way? What if I tried this tactic? But, honestly, at the end of the day, the reason why I got there is because I learned that I need to make sure that people understand what my requirements are and to really be able to work with people that felt like were my people. And there's so many times that in our path, we end up working for a boss that's really not a person, or having coworkers that you just in your gut, that they're not your people, whatever that means, whether you trust them, not trust them, or they're not aligned with who you are. And I think a lot of times as women, we're like, well, I'm just going to be nicer to that person so I get what I want. And it just doesn't work. You have to find your people aligned with what your requirements are. And then that's when the magic comes through. And that's what happened to me. I was working for that agency, and the two women who I was working with, we were working on this huge global initiatives, and they were my people. And, we together talked about what the requirements are and everything. And it was like a huge hit globally. And they loved, through that lens of literally the simple fact of what I'm describing, we were able to move mountains, in 6 months together, us three women in this like sea of, men that were all our bosses globally and locally. So it's really important to be able to really know that for yourself.
I love that. Find your people. I think it's really, really important. We try to navigate so much of this by ourselves, but I think if you can really find your people and lock arms, the power of what we can do together is so much more than we can do by ourselves. So absolutely love that. Okay, so we kind of talked about this declutter to lead, right? We kind of talked about this overall topic today, but talk to me about what types of clutter, I mean, that could be digital, mental, emotional, have you had to intentionally clear so you could lead more effectively? And
Yes.
in clearing some of that, like how did that really change your approach? Before we jump back in, a quick thank you to Women in Technology of Northwest Arkansas for being part of this journey. We cannot thank them enough. They continue to create space for women to grow, connect, and lead in tech. Let's get back to the conversation.
No matter what, if you're starting a new journey, you're going to have these limiting beliefs that will come through. It's kind of like the idea of, I don't have my own children, but, in psychology, they always say if you have unresolved issues at a certain age, like let's say something happened to you when you were 13 and you have a child and that child is approaching 13, your own unresolved issues will sort of arise. And similar to having babies, when you have a business, it's your baby. And these limiting beliefs will come to surface, and that becomes clutter in your head. But clutter, for me, clutter is so many facets. You can have digital clutter and not be able to find things easily, or not be able to have a scalable business where you can bring someone on and really easily explain to them that this is our process, this is where everything goes, so I can find it, where it is. So, and that was, basically what I did as director of operations, is to make sure that things are seamless for those companies who hired me. There's, of course, physical clutter, and that can apply to a lot of paperwork that we don't know what to do with, whether they need to be scanned or not. But, in 2007, the agency I was working with, I took them through paperless. And this is way before there was such a thing as paperless. But I was like, we have access to a server and we all have it on our computer. Why do we have to have everything, printed out and next to us? So it's the idea of the clutter that's holding you back somehow, and it makes us so overwhelmed. I think that's what it is. It's just that clutter, that limiting belief is that clutter in your head, that your computer being a mess, or your server being a mess, or not having a really distinct workflow. And it's that clutter that can't make you can't design a business that's scalable. Or that physical clutter where, you look at it and you're like, I know I got to take care of that pile, or I know I have these boxes of photos, or whatever it is, or I know I have a closet full of crap that I need to go through and donate or throw away or whatever. It's these things that actually makes us so overwhelmed and prevent us from thinking and moving in our life with clarity.
I love that. I mean, I don't care what your job is or what your role is or where you're trying to get next. I think if it's a professional goal, a personal goal, that the chaos and the clutter definitely are standing in the way of that. I also think you've got to be super intentional about creating space to do that. And so we live in a world that's often promoting and rewarding the busy. And so how do you create that space for intentional work that really aligns with whatever your goals and values are?
I put it on my calendar. I put everything on I live and die by my calendar. If it's not on my calendar, I'm not going to do it. And, I'm sure I'm not alone in saying this, but I have pretty bad ADHD. So I have to have systems in place in order to minimize a little bit the squirreling. Yeah, I always want to learn new things, and I don't want to do that thing that I have to do today because I want to learn that new AI whatever. That if I just go to my calendar, I'm like, okay, what did I intend for myself to do between 1 and 2 p.m. today? And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do that. But I give myself some space to be able to squirrel, because no matter what, this girl is going to be there. If you have ADHD, you know what I'm talking about. So I do need to give myself a little space to squirrel around, but I have to, that's my system.
I love that, because you know that you need the structure. So you have the calendar, but you're also like not so structured and scheduled that you give yourself like freedom and space for creativity. I love that. Okay. So I think the other thing, and we've semi touched on this a little bit today, is like the power of community. So you kind of just talked about you locking arms with those other two women, but I think we often as women, we isolate, especially like if we're going through things or things like that, we feel like we're the only one going through this or the only one dealing with it. So I think, which is also not super comfortable for everyone. Some of us introverts, some of us extroverts, but community is powerful. And I would say the more places you can plug in, and not more by quantity, but more that align with your purpose, kind of helps to do some of what we're talking about here. Do you have any like support networks in the community that you would recommend for women? I mean, we've got audience all over the US and the world. So just curious on what support networks you think and kind of how you think that really helps plug into what you're able to do.
That's such an important question. And yes, I do. So beyond my close friends who are my confidant and my mentors, everyone that is in my life, I'm in my mid 50s, and by this time I've collected friends and family members who I deem really close, that no matter what, I mean, I have tough skin and I want the real deal. So they're going to give it to me real. Sometimes that hurts my feelings, but I know that the intention is there. We all want the best for each other. But beyond that, it's the networking groups and the mastermind groups. If you have access to networking group, find your people, even if it's just one person, and you can create community just with one other person and start bringing in other women or people who are your people. Remember, they have to be your people, right? You have to feel aligned with them. Like your gut would always know if this person is aligned with you or not. So find your people and start your own community. Start leaning into asking the hard questions. This is the struggles I have in my business. Like there are things that, I mean, I thought, oh, how hard could this be? I'm just going to make photo albums for people. My first client out the gate had 130,000 analog photos. I had never organized or archived 130,000 analog photos. So I had to lean into a community that knew how to do this, right? And talk to people who were generous and who were able to help me through that. So you don't have to figure all of it out yourself. And just know that in order for you to grow, you have to lean into others for answers, but always check in with your gut for the real answer.
I love that. I think perspectives, like different perspectives, are incredible. Your perspective is your reality, not the reality. And then, just the breadth of information that you get from others. Like you may see it as a triangle and they may see it as an upside down something else, right? And so I think the more value is added when you're able to bring in diverse perspectives, not people that look like you, think like you, act like you. And back to what you said, is that you have some people that will tell you the truth even if it hurts. Make sure you add some of those people in your community, because there's a lot of people that navigate around feelings, and that's okay, but you definitely need your truth sayers, truth and love, but definitely those that will tell you the truth for sure. Well, we are coming up on the end of the episode, my least favorite time of any episode, but we always leave with one question, and it's a little bit of a two-part question. The first part is, what legacy do you hope to leave? And the second part is, if you could leave our audience with one piece of advice, what would that be?
The legacy I'd like to leave is that I helped so many people to be able to relax at the end of their life and through the journey of not losing their memories and being able to pass something on to future generations. I have a heartfelt business, and with every project I deliver, it's like tears of joy. So to me, that's a really great thing in terms of the business, of course. But what was the second question?
The part is, what one piece of advice would you leave our audience with?
The piece of advice I will leave you with is always remain in your power and be true to yourself. Be true to yourself, follow your gut. Because if you do those, it's simple but kind of difficult things, you will actually create so much abundance in your life. It will just, and flow, abundance and flow with ease and grace.
I love that so much. Who does not want abundance? I definitely do. It's been an incredible time here with you today. So thank you again so much for joining us. And to our listeners, thank you for continuing to tune in and listen. We are super grateful for your support. And remember to go out and like and subscribe. Bye. You've been listening to the Women in Tech Trailblazers podcast. Thanks for being here. If something resonated with you, please share this episode with your friends, your colleagues, or anyone you know that needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to catch what's next. We'll be back soon with more real stories and honest conversations. Until then, keep showing up and let's keep making space at the table.